Hey everybody, it's Kevin Graff. Welcome to what is the last of these free Wednesday webinars in this series anyway. No doubt at some point, maybe in the summer, maybe in the fall, we'll dial these back up again because the attendance has been great. The feedback is great, and a lot of people are very appreciative of just being able to get just a little bit of insight into things that they could do. So if you haven't attended one of these webinars that I do, they're casual conversations that I have with you. And I take it from the perspective of empathy, that if I were in your chair, what would I do? I've been doing this for a long time. It's not that I have all the answers. As a matter of fact, I have probably learned more from my clients, from people like you, than I ever thought of myself. But I'm a bit of a sponge and a real fan of what happens out there in the retail marketplace. So in this series, we've talked about a lot of things, but this topic, traffic is down, now what, is really relevant. And listen, not to everybody, because not everybody's traffic counts are down out there. And listen, if you don't have a traffic counter on your store, you're not really sure, right? You're looking just at transactions, but not really at traffic. And the retail data from people like Environics is a little bit all over the place with traffic, but for most people, this tends to be a bit of a reality that we have a fewer number of customers walking into our store. So when we decided on this series, I just looked at it and said, well, what if I was managing a store? What if I was a DM and I had this happening across my territory? What would I do? Because I don't run marketing, right? I don't do store location. I don't do events. I don't do buying, right? That's not the area of a store manager or a DM. We're charged with maximizing the potential of that customer traffic that comes into our store. Now, we know if there's less traffic coming in the store, normally that's going to result in less sales, but I don't think it has to, right? And we have a lot of clients who have reversed the trend, even with traffic down. So let's get started. Let's talk about some things that I think you can do. Some of these aren't really rocket science. If you're not doing all this stuff already, you've got a problem on your hands that I can't help you with. But I always think if you can frame your ideas around a concept, a model, I think we're just going to do better. And the starting point for everybody is you have to accept the fact that you're missing sales every day in your store right now. It doesn't matter if you have more customers, less customers. If you have any customers, I promise you this, you're not getting all the sales that you could or you should. And if you don't believe that, if you think that you're crushing it, that we're selling to every customer imaginable, you're fooling yourself. Because think about yourself as a consumer, right? When you're out shopping, I mean, how often does it happen that you walk into a store and the staff are just like the second coming? They're just amazing. They're engaged. They're knowledgeable. They're on you, not in a pushy way, right? They're helpful. You leave, you're amazed. That doesn't happen very often out there, including in your own store. And that's not trying to be critical, but you have to accept the fact that, yeah, wait a minute. We could probably have sold to two or three more customers over the course of the day. We could have probably got an extra buck, two, five, 10 out of every customer along the way. And if you're prepared to start there, then you can go forward. If you're not prepared to accept the reality of our existence in retail, that we don't maximize the potential in our store. If you can open your mind to that, then I think you stand a chance of actually driving your sales. And retail is built around something as simple as the retail equation. I'm going to explain this thing to you. It's so simple, but this is your framework. We start with this equation of traffic, right? That's the topic of today, traffic, right? That's the number of customers that come into your store, whether they buy or not. Now, I'm going to multiply that traffic by my conversion rate percentage. So what percentage of those customers actually make a purchase in my store? So if I have 100 people come into my store and 20 make a purchase, I have a 20% conversion rate. Again, if you don't have a traffic counter, you can't get to that number. Now, I'm going to take that and I'm going to multiply it by my average sale. That's the average amount that each customer spends. Some spend 5, some spend 50, some spend 100. What's the average amount that they spend? So listen, if I take my traffic and I multiply it by my conversion rate percentage and I multiply that by my average sale, miraculously, I get my total sales. And it's as simple as that. And I promise you, as simple as that is, in the boardrooms of retailers around the world today, they're talking about this. They talk about this all the time, and they don't talk about it like this, but we're always thinking about how do I get more people to come in? How do I inspire more of those customers to buy? How do I get more money from each of these customers along the way? Because all of those things drive sales. However, any decrease in any of those three metrics, traffic, conversion rate, or average sale, results in sales. So for my advanced thinkers, you've already solved this. The topic is traffic is down. So now what? Okay, well, if my traffic number's down, my only hope of maintaining my sales or growing my sales is to increase my conversion rate or my average sale. And we're going to talk about some things that you can do to drive up your conversion rate and drive up your average sale. But it's that lens that you have to be able to start with. So take a look at the impact. Look at this chart. Let's say we have 1,000 people come into the store. Let's go across the first row. 20% of them buy, average sale $22. That gives me sales of $4,400, right? 200 people bought at $22 is $4,400. Now let's say I have the same 1,000 people come in, but I move my conversion rate to 22% somehow, some way. It's an extra 2%. I still only get $22, but my sales now go to 4,840. That's a 10% increase. Look at the third row. Let's assume same 1,000, conversion rate doesn't budge, still at 20, but instead of 22, I get 25. My sales are now $5,000. That's 14%. And if you're the rock star, the fourth row is for you. You've increased your conversion rate up to 22. You now get 25. Your sales are now at $5,500. It's a 25% increase. I ask you this, how's your life in your company if your sales are up by 25%? I'm thinking you're going to Hawaii, right? Like think about that for a moment. And I did that with the same number of customers without increasing the customer base. And so now what you want to be able to do is start to think, so how do I go about driving my conversion rate and driving my average sale? Two numbers that you need to get your head around. But let's go backwards. Let's start with traffic. We're not marketers at Graph. This is not what we do. And for those of you who are running stores, you're not charged with being a marketer. But what are the simple things that you can do? You can provide better service, right? So if we're really great and we created raving fans, they come back more often. We can make sure our windows are great because that's our message to the world that screams to come on. We keep the storefront fresh and exciting. If you've got email capture programs, if you've got loyalty programs, make sure you're executing those things to the highest level possible because that's how your organization is going to be able to market out to these people. But it's that last idea, and this doesn't apply to all of you. If I had a customer list, and I do, I Graph, and hopefully a lot of you do, I'd be calling those people. If instead of me sitting back and waiting for customers to come into the store, if I'm hurting for traffic and I've got a customer list, why am I not reaching out to my customers, right? Like some people say, well, that's really old school retailing, Kevin. I go, well, it may be old school retailing, but I'll tell you, depending on how you approach it, it can work really well for you, right? It's not the miracle cure, but why aren't we? Like if I was running a cell phone store, I'd be reaching out to all the customers who'd bought cell phones and wireless plans from me at the 6-month mark, at the year mark, the year and a half mark, and for sure repeatedly at the 2-year mark when I know they're about to upgrade their phone yet again. I'm going to maintain that contact with them. If I'm running a fashion store, if I'm running any type of store where I've got customer data lists, I'm going to do it. And there's some technology out there. I'm not expecting all of you to race out there and do it. And by the way, I think clienteling is spelled wrong on there. I think it's only one L. It doesn't even come up in spell check. There's some cool technology. We're just starting to play with the one that's on the left-hand side, voicedrop.ai. It is very cool if you have your customer's cell phone numbers. Have you ever had it where all of a sudden you have a voicemail in your phone, but your phone didn't ring? That's what VoiceDrop AI does. So if you had a bunch of cell phone numbers, you could drop it into VoiceDrop AI. It's amazingly cool technology. And all it does is you pre-record a message and it drops it into the voicemail because all of you have said, nobody answers their phone, nobody wants to talk to me. Great, leave them a voicemail message. So there is technology. And then over on the other side, text messaging. We have some clients that use text messaging to clientele to the customers, and it works really well, right? Better than email because we all check all of our texts, right? We don't read all of our emails because it's been around longer and we get inundated with them in there. But what I'm saying is that You have to get past the usual, oh, I don't have time, people don't want to call. Okay, how else can I position myself to do a better job around it? All right, let's get off traffic. Let's go to where I really want to go, conversion rate, and then we'll talk about average sale for a little bit. Conversion rate, pretty simple. Number of transactions divided by the traffic that came into the store, right? So if you don't have a traffic counter, and a lot of you probably don't, but believe me, I always say, if I ever opened a store, the first thing I'd buy is a traffic counter, right? That's the first thing I would invest in, right? Because everything starts, if you think about the retail equation, everything starts with the number of people that come in the store. Now, if I'm running a liquor store, I don't need one. Why? Because everybody that goes to the liquor store probably makes a purchase, right? Nobody just goes in there to look around, right? So I know the number of transactions is roughly equal to the amount of traffic. But that's the rarity, right? That doesn't normally matter out there. All right. Small changes make big impact, right? And I showed you that on the chart. Think about it. Increasing your conversion rate by just 1% could represent a 5% increase in sales. Here's how. If your average sale is $100 and you convert at 20%, that means 20 clients bought for $100, gives you 2,000. If you get your conversion rate up by just one more percent, so instead of 20 out of 100, 21, radical. Like still 79 still are not buying from you, right? Like you don't get a cape at this stage of the game, but we manage to somehow, some way persuade, influence, excite one more customer out of 100 to make a purchase in our store. That's not a lot, is it? Think about that. If I get one more to do it, my sales are now 2,100. That's a 5% increase in sales, which is probably what your sales target was this year. And I just had to sell to one. And for all of you that are in a management position in here, when you're talking to your staff, talk to them about that example. Like we're converting at 20. If we convert it at 21, folks, it's one more out of 100. Right? It's not like, oh my God, look at the heroics that we just pulled off in here, right? It speaks to the potential that's there. So let's think about this thing. And there's just so many things you can do to be able to drive up your conversion rate. And I've got like 9 on the screen, right? Let's race through these. Have a goal. Like if you don't have a goal that you can manage people to inform them about it, to measure them against, to hold them accountable on, to train them towards, it's really hard, right? But if you have traffic counters, now I can have a goal. So if I and be careful how you set your goals. If you're converting at 20, set it at 21. Don't go 25, right? That sounds like it's easy, but it's really hard to do. But you have to have a goal to be able to do it. Know what your best sellers are. One of the fastest ways to drive your conversion rate is to point out to more of your customers what your best sellers are. They became best sellers because people like them. They're easier to sell than some of the other fringe things that are hanging around in the store just getting ready for their second round of markdowns because we still haven't sold them yet, right? I would be prompting my staff on, do we know what the top 10 sellers are? And are we selling them that way to our customers, right? Third, become a master of closing the sale. Listen, nobody wants to be pressure oriented, and you don't have to be pressure oriented, right? I could ask a customer 3 times in a row if they wanted to buy in a very non-pressuring, pressure-oriented way. It might go like, did you want to go with A or B? I'm not too sure. Well, listen, based on everything you told me, my recommendation is I would go with A because of these reasons. Don't you agree? You know what? I'm still not too sure. I get it. It's a really big decision. You know, I had a customer in the other day who had the same concerns that you did. I ran into them. They were talking to me that it worked exceptionally well and actually better than they thought it would. I think you're probably going to have the same experience. Did you want to write one up? Right? That's 3 times in a way. Now, I'm not saying that's how you need to ask for the sale, but you need to learn how to be able to do it to bring the sale to a logical conclusion. The red one, if I have to tell you that, forget it. And it drives me nuts. 30 odd years in this business, and I still don't get waited on in stores, right? All too often, right? If you're not waiting on your customers, just become a vending machine, right? Just go online. Like, why do you have a store and you're not going to wait on your customers? And don't tell me customers don't want to be waited on. They came to your store, sure, to explore, to discover, to experience, and nobody wants to have a poor salesperson wait on them, but to find somebody that's warm, friendly, engaging, knowledgeable, passionate, and ambassador for the brand available to them, that's interacted with them. We're all looking for that out there. Ask more questions. The sale is made when you're asking questions. So if you want to drive your conversion rate, if I'm a manager, I'm listening to my staff out on the sales floor when they're selling and I'm thinking, are they talking or are they asking questions? Because if I can get the customer to talk, the customer's more likely to believe that what comes out of their mouth than what comes out of my mouth. So if I can get them to talk, then it's probably going well. So teach your staff what are the best questions to be able to ask. What are the 10 best for this category? What are the 10 best for that category? What are the 10, like simplify their life instead of making it this elusive gray zone area. Establish better rapport. People buy from people that they like, right? It's as simple as that. Look around your store, look at your best salespeople. I guarantee you they are the best ones at establishing connection and rapport, likability with your customers, right? They're just the best at it, right? It's 70% of the reason that you'll succeed or not. So if you've got people that are struggling, just show them some simple ways to be able to greet and approach your customers. Teach them a product approach, teach them a promotional approach, teach them about common ground. Like just teach them some things. Purple box down bottom left, best sellers get your best hours, right? If you're tracking individual sales, and even if you're not, you know who your best sellers are. If my traffic's down and I'm struggling to hit my sales targets, listen, business is business. My best sellers get the best, not the best hours for them, the best selling hours. I need them there when there's lots of customers in the store. We have to talk about conversion rate. If you're not talking about it, nobody's paying attention to it, right? And if you don't have a traffic counter, doesn't mean you can't play this game. Do it based on transactions, right? Set a goal for a number of transactions. It's fundamentally getting you to kind of the same area, not with as much insight on it, but talk about it, right? Start talking how many transactions you've had between, the time you opened at 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, and then at 1 o'clock, and then at 3 o'clock, and then at 6 o'clock, right? And most importantly, lead the way, right? If you expect your staff to be able to do all the things that I've been talking about, you need to do it yourself. All right. Let's go now to average sale, right? Traffic times conversion rate times average sale. Well, average sale is made up of two numbers: items for sale and the average unit price. If I multiply the average number of items that each customer buys, 2.2, and I multiply it by the average unit price, $100, I'd have an average sale of $220, right? So any increase in the number of items that a customer buys or the price point of an item that a customer buys drives up my average sale. Now, we know for most of us in retail, the salesperson's game is to sell more items to the customer. Not that we don't want to sell them more expensive items, but the main focus is on items for sale more than it is average unit price. But I'm going to talk to you about some ideas that do that. Behaviors that drive items for sale. And you are welcome. Take a picture of all these items that I have up here. We have our clients with these charts that are a little more comprehensive posted in their back room because it gives you something to coach. Learn how to cross-sell, right? What are all the add-ons that go with every main item in the store, right? If you're not talking to your staff about how to add on all those obvious additional items, you're kind of missing it. Link additional items to the primary item. Focus on selling complete solutions. Listen, my whole philosophy when we talk to our clients, when we teach people how to sell is just sell your customer the most complete solution, the best solution that fits them. Now, listen, if the best solution for your customer today is one item, I'm okay with that. If the best solution for your customer today is buying nothing in my store, I'm okay with that. But are you sure that's the best solution for them? Did you ask enough questions? Did you engage with them enough to know what the best solution is? So it's not about being pushy. But if you're in a hardware store and I come in and you discover I need to buy some paint and I'm painting, a spare bedroom in my house, doesn't really matter what it is. And you send me out the door, right, with my paint and a roller and a tray and a brush, and you think you've done a great job. You've probably not sold me the complete or the right solution. Right. And for all of you who have ever done any painting, I'm the worst painter in the world. I have probably forgotten 3 or 4 items. I'm going to have to make another trip back to the store for tape, for drop cloths, whatever the case happens to be, right? That's the mentality that you have to be able to have. Do the right thing by your customer. Ask about the need for add-ons early in the sale. If your staff don't want to feel like they're being pushy by pushing an add-on at the end, sell it as a solution. Ask questions earlier in the sale to get a better understanding about what additional add-ons they might need. Don't just show what the customer asks for. If you do, you're just a vending machine, right? Somebody comes in and says, do you have? Yeah, it's right over here. Great, thanks very much. They'll ring you up at the front. Oh God, I don't need you. right? Like, well, look, what are you doing? Right? I'll just put a digital kiosk and I'll tell everybody what aisle it's in and what shelf it's on. That's not the purpose, right? What they ask for, great, terrific. Now, my objective is to be able to understand. So, what do you need it for? Right? And then if I can engage with you, I might discover that maybe it's not the right item, or maybe a more expensive item is good, or maybe to do that job, you're actually going to need two or three more items, and you may already have them, but it's my responsibility to make sure that you're doing that. Stop being afraid of rejection. Customer says no, your taxes don't go up. They can't go up any higher. You don't die, right? Like it's you die slowly inside, but it's like, okay, so they said no to the add-on. Okay, that's fine. You're just doing the right thing by trying to enlighten them. Think like a consultant. Don't think like a salesperson. If you were doing that job, if you were going to that event, what else would you need to be able to wear to make this outfit really sing for you? If you're in a food store, okay, so you're making what? Okay, like who's coming over? Okay, great. What would make that amazing? Right? You're selling like running shoes in a running store. Okay, great, terrific. You're selling running shoes. Okay, great. Well, they're going out running. I'm thinking they're going to have more than shoes on their feet. Otherwise, they're a streaker, right? Like, think through these things, and that's what a consultant does. Show impulse and promotional items at the register. That's a lost art in retail. I don't know. I used to see it all the time. I don't see it much anymore, right? I think we just got lazy about it, and people go, "Oh, customers don't like it." Oh, no, you just got tired of doing it. You lost focus with it, right? The amount of additional and impulse items you can sell at the register is amazing. The most likely time for a customer to agree to an additional item is at the cash register. Why? Because they were already predisposed to buying something from you. They got their credit card out. An extra $2, $5, $7 on an impulse items that's got keystone margin attached to it does an amazing thing to your bottom line in your business, right? I would be driving that program as hard as I could in a store. Oop, let's go backwards one. Use a 3, 4, or 5-step add-on strategy to drive it. It's like anything else. If we have a plan, we outperform the people who don't. So if I say to my staff, okay, so our target is to get to 2.3 items per sale. So let's make sure we're adding on out there. Good luck. Like, good luck. Like your staff are looking at, okay, well, okay, what's my plan? When we teach people how to sell, we go, listen, here's a 3-step, a 4-step, or a 5-step, depending on the business strategy. First, trade the customer up to a more expensive item if it makes sense. Second, sell all the logical complementary items. Third, point out the new arrivals. Fourth, point out promotional items. Fifth, cash register. And I'm not so sure that's the one that fits your business. But now as a staff member, I've got 5 things that I could try to do. I don't think they're going to do all 5, but that's okay. If I ask them to do 5, they might do 3. If I ask them to do 3, they might do 2 or 1. If I ask them to do 1, they're likely to do none, right? So it's like, give them a strategy, a plan to be able to follow that fits your business. Assume the customer is going to buy. There's this funny thing about when you're selling. If you assume the customer is going to say yes, they often do. If you assume they're going to say no, there's something about your body language, your tone of voice that puts it across to the customer that you don't really think they should do this, right? So it's a mentality thing. Don't be pushy. But by the same token, you have a responsibility to provide them with the right answer, the most complete answer, right? So we never tell people to be pushy. Slow down, right? Which I have a hard time doing, right? And it doesn't always fit. When the store is busy, you can't slow down. But if you watch your best people, they're really good when they have time at engaging with the customer, building connection with them, getting into deeper conversations with them. And those are the people that do really well. And at the end of the day, just get more curious about your customers. If you do those things, customers buy more items out there. And then average unit price, think about it. How do you sell more of the more expensive items in your store, right? Get your staff focused on selling the full price items, not just clearance stuff. Clearance stuff is real easy. If I'm working in a store, I'm hanging around the clearance racks. Why? Because that's easy and I'm going to get my number on that, right? It's really easy to be able to do. But you got to get your staff focused on selling the new arrivals as soon as they show up. Get excited about talking about training your staff on the PK on the new arrivals right before we mark it down. That will drive up your average unit price. Increase your product knowledge on your higher priced items. We have a problem in retail. We often have staff trying to sell items that they themselves can't afford to buy. Right? I do some work for like people like Chanel, and like the staff staff, like, I mean, it's a $15,000 handbag. They're not paying the staff that much money to be able to do it, right? But it doesn't really matter. You look around the stores that you're running, a lot of you are working in stores where the staff are trying to sell stuff that they can't afford. Once they understand the product knowledge and they understand why it's priced at what it's priced at, they stand a better chance. But you can't sell it if you don't know it. And people tend to shy away from the stuff that they don't know. It's a human thing. Do more role playing with your expensive items at your shift starters. And when you're selling, we always start at the top. We don't start with the least expensive, then go to the mid price and then to the top. That doesn't work, right? You will just sell the lower price item. It's the law of contrast. Start at the top and if necessary, work your way down. It's way easier coming down than it is going up, right? That's the retail equation. I'm going to give you a few more things, but if I was sitting in the store and my traffic is down, first thing I'm doing is I'm building plans to drive conversion rate and average sale. I'm getting like laser focused on those two numbers. And I'm building plans and I'm talking about them and I'm driving them with my staff all the time. Because if I can deal with a little bit of a decrease in traffic by offsetting it with conversion rate percentages and average sales, my sales are going to be fine. There is a boatload of opportunity that's in your store. And listen, when this works, it works really. I'm gonna share with you an experience. Easter weekend, I decide I'm going to do like a leg of lamb, right? I'm looking for a boneless leg of lamb. Anyway, I end up, there's this small retail chain that's opening up across Canada, Wild Fork, right? So there's one not too far from where I live. I hadn't been in it before. I decided I'm going to go to Wild Fork because I know they've got this. And if you've been in one, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, picture walking into a 2,000, 3,000 foot meat store, but everything's frozen, right? It's all freezers and that. Anyway, so I walk in. It's I don't know, it's 10:30 shortly after they open the stores. It's not very busy at this stage of the game. Anyway, I get this guy waiting on me. Oh my God. Wonderful, friendly, engaging. I don't know if I've had better service from anybody. And I'm loving it because he's selling, right? But not pushy, right? He's not pushy. He's like, he moves me from like the lamb shoulder to the lamb leg, tells me why it's going to be better. Then I'm taking a look around the store and I'm looking at the wild caught salmon and he moves me up to the better tasting, more expensive wild caught salmon. And then he is prompting me on like the sale that's on the St. Louis ribs are an amazing buy. And did I see this grass-fed steak over here? I think I spent $100 more than I intended to spend, but I was so happy in that store. And I look at the, now listen, at the end, and I figured out what was happening. When we're ringing it in, he scanned his name tag, right? Which I love, right? Because he's accountable for his sales at that stage. And I'm like, okay. He just got an extra $100 out of me. How many times is he going to get an extra $100 out of other customers that are in the store? And it was like an amazing experience, right? That's the potential that exists inside your stores. And it's this mentality change, right? Sales don't happen to us. We don't sit on our heels in a store. No, we make sales happen. And as a manager, as a DM, every day it's like, okay, what are we going to do to make sales happen today? It's not that we opened and we received some goods and we marked down some stuff and I did a schedule. Great, terrific. I know we got to do that stuff. What are we doing to make sales happen, right? And it's hard. It's 360 odd days a year that you're open. And I'm trying to go, guys, every day. But that's the mentality that you have to do. It's this thing, right? You got to work smarter and harder. Like you just can't work smarter. Part of what we do with our clients is we try to give them models, systems, skills, processes that get the staff in the store to work harder and smarter. We can't just do, it's very cliche to say, it's great, just work smarter, not harder. It's like, yeah, okay. We also need to work harder, right, out there. So if you worked with me before, you need to know this. If I'm running a store and traffic is down, I'm pulling out all the stops, right? I'd be sitting there going, okay, all right, well, this sucks. I don't have a lot of customers coming into the store. So I have to drive the productivity level of my staff, right? I have to get more out of everybody. And I'm not going to go through all this because this is like way too detailed, right? But just think about this for a second. This is the thing we talk about is the 5 foundations. This is the key to unlocking productivity. This is how we recapture all those lost sales in the store. Number 1, focus on goals. We are going to have our staff knowing the sales goal, the average sale goal, the conversion rate goal. We're going to talk about it. We're going to post it. We're going to breathe it, right? When I call the store, when I email the store, we are going to chase that number, right? Goals drive effort level. Man, I'm going to share results every time I call the store, or even if I'm not in the store, right? At 11 o'clock, I'm doing a midday read and I'm going around and telling everybody. At 1 o'clock, another midday read. At 3 o'clock, at 5 o'clock, right? Don't wait to the end of the day to tell people how it's going. Get a chart up in your back room as big as you can that just tells everybody what's going on. Because if I do that, number 3, accountability. Now achieving those goals. And number 1, that matters, right? And listen, I'm a kind, empathetic guy, but I'll be honest with you, man. If we miss, and I'm just as a team, we miss average sale target yesterday by $5. If you don't say anything about it, what are you doing, right? But it's not mean, right? I just at the shift start, I'll probably come up and talk about these things at my shift start, my morning huddle. I go, hey guys, did everybody see the average sale target yesterday? Right? Yeah, we're $5 behind. Think about yesterday, guys. Give me 3 things you think we could have done better yesterday that would have had us stand a better chance of hitting our average sale target. That's accountability, right? Or tell me 5 things we need to get better at today to ensure that we actually hit. What are those 5 things, right? And listen to your group, like poll. Okay, well, that's 3. Okay, I need 2 more. What are the other 2 things we're going to do better today? That's accountability, right? That's if you see somebody out on the floor and they walk by a customer and they don't even look up, smile, approach them, greet them, they do nothing. Accountability. It's a conversation. They're not in trouble. Nobody's getting fired, right? But accountability, right, is pointing it out. 4, give them the skills, right? If you're running a business that survives based on your ability to produce sales, and you don't have an effective sales training program in place that teaches people actually how to sell, pinch yourself really hard on the back of the arm because that hurts a lot right there. Like, really? You run a business that survives based on your ability to produce sales and you don't have a good sales training program in place. Like, come on, right? But it's amazing how often that applies to people out there in retail, right? Sales training, service training, product knowledge, technical training, right? Get into your managers and you look at your managers and think, oh my God, what are all the things they need to know? We teach them how to do the paperwork and the administration and the markdowns. Do we teach them how to motivate, engage their staff, comply with standards, deal with all the performance problems in the store? Like the list just goes on and on and on of the things that they're challenged with. And then lastly, you've got to make it worthwhile. So if I'm sitting there and I'm struggling because traffic's down, I'm like, all right, how am I going to get my staff excited about the goals I'm going to set, right? Because it's going to be fun. It's not going to be threatening in my store. We're going to have some fun as we chase through this thing. If I built a plan around this, I promise you, you're going to sell more. It's inevitable that you'll sell more, 5, 10, 15, 20% more if you built a plan around doing those things. And then you go to some of these basic things. I'm just going to nag you about. If you put up with me before, I just get on you about these things. Morning huddle, shift starter meetings. If you're not running them, you're in the dark ages of retail. I'm sorry. That's not nice to say. You're just missing the most important 3 to 5 minutes of everybody's shift. That's all you're missing. It's the most 3 to 5 important 5 minutes. Like, if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. But if you expect your staff to have decent relationships and communication with each other, if you expect them to be aware of the goals and how things are going and to be a partner with you in problem solving and action planning, if you want your staff to know more about the products you sell, if you want your staff to comply, right, with your standards in your store, if you want them to understand the new promotions and what's into the store, run a morning huddle or a shift starter meeting. Right? If you're not, you're just missing it. If you're not doing it, send me an email, kevin@graphretail.com. I'll send you a kit. You don't give me a credit card. I'm just going to send you a PDF document, right? That says, here's how you do this, right? It's not complicated to do, but you got to get committed to doing these things in your store because now if I'm doing them and I'm doing them right, conversion rate's going up, average sales going up, guaranteed. Like, no ifs or buts. Life's going to get better in the store. Not overnight, but it stands a chance now of getting better. And then contests, if you go back to like the 5 foundations, make it worthwhile. I say to people all the time, if I was running a store, I'd have a contest running every week, right? Like every week I'd have a contest. if we applied it to the topic of today, traffic's down, it's like, oh yeah, I'm having a contest. Why? Well, because it kind of sucks around here. We don't have a lot of customers coming in. So I have to do something to engage my staff to drive them, right? As I go through it, you know, I would go like, okay, a really short contest, one shift long, no week stuff, no month stuff, just a day shift, right? I'm going to measure it constantly through it. Everybody's going to have a chance to be able to win. It's going to be simple and the rewards are there. There's a lot to it. But suddenly, I'm not being a victim sitting back waiting for sales to happen to me. I'm going, okay, what am I going to do? All right, I got all these strategies for conversion rate, average sale. I've got my shift starters going out over there. I've got goals. I've got tracking in there. I'm talking to them about it. I'm training them on it. I'm making it worthwhile. You're going to start to recapture some of those lost sales we talked about off the top, and you're going to stand a better chance of winning this thing. There's just a lot to do. What we try to do, what we build this thing around, sorry, I just want to be watchful of my time here. All right, good, is creating this sales culture. You know, and this is kind of the work that we do with our clients. Sometimes it's comprehensive, all of this. Sometimes it's just one or two of these things. But if you want to create an environment in your store where people are driven towards selling and achieving success, you need three fundamental things around it. You need a good sales training system, right? That's your sales training program that's systemized, that runs all the time. You need sales management systems. That's the data, right? That's your tracking of sales and metrics that tells you whether or not the employees are applying the behaviors, the skills that you taught them in the sales training. And then third, you need a coaching system in place. The sales management system tells you what it is you need to coach them on, and what you're coaching them on are the behaviors that are in your sales training system. And it is this endless loop that goes around and around. And so apply it to what it is you're doing in your business and just go, how good is our sales training program and system? How good is our sales management system? How good is our coaching systems? Any dysfunction, any gaps in any of those just creates a problem for driving sales. And in a world where traffic may be down into your stores, you've got opportunity. You could look at it negatively. Oh God, we suck. No, think about the opportunity that sits in front of you to be able to drive your business. Listen, that's a boatload of things to be able to throw at you in like a little less than 40 minutes in here. The idea is to arm you with ideas that are not complicated, that you can take, that you can implement right away in your store so that you can reverse the tide that's happening out there. It's also to inspire you, to give you a kick in the butt, to be able to go, no, you're doing great. Don't misunderstand, but you're missing sales. And we have an opportunity in all of our stores to go out there and drive them. I'm going to give you one last offer. It's the last time that we're doing this webinar series. Your price for coming to this thing is, I always tell you a little bit about what we're doing at Graph. This program, probably the best program we've created for store managers. Some of you are on our Get Managing program. It's great. It's a systematic approach. This is intensive, comprehensive management training for store managers. It is the best learning journey we have ever created. It runs over 7 weeks, no time out of the stores. It takes managers about a total of 3 hours a week. It's an unbelievably immersive learning experience. The topics that we talk about in here, right? The 5 foundations. I showed you a slide. We talk about how to hire and keep talent, get turnover rates down. We talk about how do you build motivation and, most importantly, engagement strategies. We give people strategies to drive their metrics. We talk about the business of business so they understand margin and turnover so they make better decisions. We show them how to actually run the store the right way. Drives me nuts. How do you get a 10 out of 10 on standards? And the toughest part, how do you deal with performance problems? The way that people go through this thing, every Friday we release a little bit of pre-work. It takes them like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, a TED talk, a recording, something to open their mind up to the topic of the week. On the Monday, they attend for 1 hour a live event, just a simple 1 hour live event that myself or sometimes Linda Montalbano teaches that talks to them about the 5 foundations, right? One topic per week. We give them assignments to do in their stores, not schoolwork assignments. It forces them to apply the content that we talked about. And then Thursday, probably the richest part of the program, they meet with a group of peers from other retail companies, other store managers, to talk about what they learned in their assignments, but they also get to learn from their peers. Here's the offer for you guys. This program kicks off on Monday. I never discount anything, but I'm looking to just round out the numbers that are in this program. The program sells for $800, $795. If you're a Retail Council member, it's $725. 2 for 1. But today's Wednesday, right? I need to know by probably end of the day tomorrow, because we have all this back end stuff to be able to do. Max that's coming in from any one company is 8 people. So that means you could pay for 4 and you're going to get 4 seats. It is a phenomenal, phenomenal learning experience. So reach out to me, kevin@graffretail.com. I can send you the brochure. I can get your registration form, and I'll save you some money. And most importantly, get your managers the training that they need, and quite frankly, they deserve. So with that, I thank you guys for your time, your attention, and wish you the very best. As I always say, good luck. Now, get out there and good selling. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.